Capricorn, 2026 is a foundational year for you. You are quite literally working on the foundations of your life, which impacts anything else that you build towards, ascend towards. Your ruling planet Saturn, as well as Neptune and Chiron, will spend a majority of the year within your fourth house, which is quite literally the roots, the foundation of the entire chart. And it gets very clear when you look at it visually. Everything hinges upon the fourth house. It is the base. It is the roots. It is the foundation. And when things shift down there, that sort of change is reflected out there into the world. Yes, there is a focus on your home. There is a focus on your family. There is a focus on your emotional state. We'll get into it. But it's important to know that while fourth house is very sacred, it's very beneath the surface. It's the roots that quite literally anchor the tree into the earth. The health of the roots impacts the health of the entire tree. The reality of what is happening within us impacts everything that is happening outside of us. So yes, there may be priority shifts and changes that are alive within your internal reality, but from that space around really tuning into the foundations of who you are, the foundations of what makes you happy, the focus of what your priorities are, of what really means something to you, that's guiding the choices that you are making in the external world. With all of these planets transiting the sign Aries, this could be a year that you are really choosing yourself, choosing your happiness, choosing what makes you feel happy at home, choosing what your family needs above any sort of lure from the outside world. Because when it comes to fourth house energy, if you do not feel steady and solid within yourself, if you do not feel at ease within your physical abode in the home of your soul, if you do not have a sense of belonging, anything that we strive to do within the external world will be on shaky foundations. And this is a year you are getting your foundation steady, you are getting your foundation secure, and you are getting your foundation soulfully aligned with the reality, the authenticity of who it is that you really are. Capricorn, this is a big year for the collective and for you, and we will break it down throughout the course of this video. I want you to think of interacting with this video as though you are watching a trailer for the movie that you are stepping into within the year ahead. I will take you through the energies that you're bringing with you from last year's movie. We'll break down the plot twists, the parts of the year that may take you by surprise. We'll tune into how you are evolving and growing your own character development. We'll tune into other outer planets where it is that they are transiting your chart, and thus life arenas that are also being activated in addition to the fourth house. And then we'll wrap up with the final scene, essentially what is aligning within the astrology this year and how it is that you can co-create with it. Just in case you're new to me or my cosmic corner of the internet, my name is Haley Comet. I'm not someone who's ever here to fearmonger you or to inspire any sort of fear or doom about the year that you are stepping into. My aim here is to empower you. My aim here is to inspire you to work with these cosmic energies and flow with it. I know I'm talking to a lot of Capricorns, so you all are very realists, and I will make sure to give it to you straight, but I will also strive to remind you that you are a cosmic co-creator, and there are opportunities, alignments, and blessings coming up within the movie of year 2026, which of course we'll get into. This video will be the most relevant and applicable if you are a Capricorn rising or a Capricorn sun. The reason for this is we tell the story of the cosmos utilizing houses. Rising sets your actual houses, and then your sun sign sets your solar houses, which is a technique within astrology where we pull the sun into the first house and set up the houses from there. So absolutely, I would deeply recommend listening to Rising. That will be the most apparent energy felt and experienced within your 2026 movie, but oftentimes your sun sign is an additional layer of themes. As someone who works with solar houses, yes, of course, actual houses will be the most literal within your life, but you will absolutely feel elements of your solar houses as well. So make sure to check out both of those forecasts. I will be posting these videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday throughout the month of December. So make sure to subscribe to come back if your rising or your sun is not posted yet. I want to highlight that if you are looking for a month-by-month look at your year, what months would be the most prosperous to apply for new jobs, what times of the year would be most aligned to apply for a mortgage, whatever sort of plans are beginning to formulate within your brain, if you are looking for the astrological understanding understanding of each scene of your movie, make sure to check out Magic 2026. It is a video in which I take you through the astrology of every single month, the growth opportunities of each, the challenges of each, and the affirmations that you feel inspired to work with that energy. Make sure to check that out. It is a video where I take you through it step by step. I have timestamps so you're able to tune back into it or just get aligned with each month as you're stepping into it. I'm also doing a Capricorn New Moon Magic 2026 class. So if you are looking for more of a conversation about your cosmos, we're having some small groups where we will work with your chart and your transits in order to set intentions under the auspicious, prosperous alignment of the Capricorn New Moon to plant the seeds of your intentions in soil that is fertile, that is aligned. That's the intention of those classes, is to understand where the astrology is working with you so that you feel inspired to work with the astrology. Because I'm a big believer here in my cosmic corner of the internet, when we dance with these cosmic rhythms, our life turns into something aligned. Our life turns into something magical. So without further ado, Capricorn, let's go ahead and take it into Act 1 of your 2026, setting the scene. The lights dim down. The movie begins. But as with any sort of plot line, the characters start somewhere. And when you step into this particular year, your journey has already likely taken you to some places. Us as protagonists, we tend to have some backstory. We tend to have some events, especially with the astrology being as wild as that has been. I want to let you know where you are energetically as the year begins. Your ruling planet has been moving through Pisces since 2023. And with that, it could have been a time of your life in which you are really fundamentally striving to maintain peace of mind. You've been very intentional around wanting to protect your peace. There may have been certain things that you wanted to say, but decided that it was not worth disrupting your peace. Like I said, there is a theme this year where you are really looking at anything within your life and questioning, does this get me closer to my own peace? Does this get me closer to my own happiness? Does this get me closer to my own joy? Or no? I genuinely feel that a lot of you are being a bit firmer as it relates to what makes it on your schedule, with what invitations you say yes to, what opportunities you explore. And if it doesn't fit right within your life, you're a no. I feel that a lot of you have really learned the art of saying no. And you're ruled by Saturn, so you are aware of bounds and limitations within this experience. But sometimes when it comes to being a Capricorn, there could be certain arenas where you've had a challenging time saying no, enacting those boundaries. Capricorn can be associated with what it is that we build within this external world, prestige, reputation. And maybe you used to be swayed by things that seemed promising, by social invitations that everybody was going to be at. You could network with this person or that person, or some promotion that was sold to you to be this. But there's an awareness that you've had around nothing is worth it if it disrupts my peace. Like, certainly I'm going to get to the bag, and we will get into that because I do feel like a lot of you are getting to the bag, but you're recognizing that we pay a price for anything that we allow into our world. And for some, you've noticed that the price was far too steep. And thus, you've really had to learn a lot of lessons around protecting your state of mind and even finding peace with things that are infuriating or frustrating. There might have been certain situations where every part of you wanted to have the last word. Every part of you wanted to give this person a piece of your mind or stand up for yourself here, defend yourself here. But a lot of you have been working on building the muscle around finding the serenity around it is what it is. And I can be upset about it. I can feel frustrated about it, but it's not going to change the reality. Pisces energy that your ruler was in. Neptune has been dancing in this sign. The North Node has been dancing in Pisces. That is a story that wraps up this year. We'll get into it. But I want to highlight that Pisces energy, where a lot of the outer cosmos has been transiting, is very much around this theme of acceptance and surrender. Which, keep in mind, you're a Capricorn. You solve problems. You fix things. You build things. You do what you've got to do, both for yourself as well as those who depend on you. You go after it. Like, you are not typically someone who sits back and says it is what it is. I feel that a lot of you have had certain experiences where you recognize no matter how much you try to defend yourself, or no matter how much advice you give, no matter how much you do, it feels there's no real major effect, and that all you're doing is wasting your time and energy, and you're really moving into this period of your life where you are protecting your peace. So if there's been certain situations within your life that have just been so frustrating, especially with how much you've been trying to fix the issue and do this in order to solve this, there could have been an energy that's been alive for you where you've just recognized it is what it is. And it's not that I'm giving up on life. It's not that I'm giving up on this connection, if that's what it is. It's not that I'm giving up on my career altogether. It's not that I'm giving up on this particular plan, but I recognize that some things are simply out of my hands. That's really the essence of Pisces energy, is the aspects of this experience that are divine, that are ethereal. What within this life is essentially out of our hands, which again, as a Capricorn, can make you feel very uncomfortable, that no matter how much you do or try something, sometimes things are just out of your hands. Sometimes it is just not meant to be. And that can be a notion that can make us very frustrated, especially when trying to force and fix and make things work. But sometimes you just reach a place around, for some reason, it's out of my hands. It's bigger than me. And I feel that a lot of you have gotten to that conclusion, not giving up on this experience, but allowing yourself to give your problems over to something bigger than yourself. Now, for some, that could be spirituality, and for others, that could just be, what is the use of stressing and worrying myself sick over this when it is truly not within my control? Like, a lot of you have really had to do a lot of work around what is in your control and what is out of your control. And there might have been certain experiences that you've had where it's like, wait, I did all of the right things. I did all of this stuff. I put in all of this. I should have gotten this particular output. And sometimes things are just mysterious, and life is not as cut and dry as that. And what's important as you step into this year, focus on your inputs, not your outputs. Because when it comes to outputs, which is essentially what we receive in relation to our effort, that's out of our control. We can do all the right things. We can take all of the steps necessary. We can learn all of the things with all of Pisces energy transiting your third house. We'll talk about it. And it still may not go as you plan. You still may not pass the test. You may still not get the thing. You may not reach the goal, which can frustrate you, particularly as a Capricorn, which tends to be very goal-oriented. You do tend to work towards what you want and oftentimes get what you want, which works in many arenas of life. But there might have been certain situations where it's like, I've been trying so hard. I've been putting on all of this effort, and yet I'm not getting the output that I desire. And when you focus on the output, what you are getting from your effort, you can feel very dejected because the output is out of our control. What you are being guided to prioritize, and this could have been something that you've been prioritizing at the end of 2025 and that you're bringing in 2026, focus on what you can control, which is your inputs. What you put into something, you can control that. And I feel that a lot of you have gotten frustrated because it's like, I've been doing all of this input and I'm not receiving the output. That sort of focus will literally make you feel like you're going insane. And it's important to shift your focus to your inputs. What am I putting into this? And the more that you focus your energy there, because again, that's an arena that you can control. You can control what it is that you are showing up for, what it is that you are learning, how this experience is teaching you. Your third house, where all of this Pisces energy is concentrated, it governs sales. It governs marketing. It governs social media. So maybe some of you work in sales and you've been in this energy around feeling very dejected around, I am not booking that many calls. You could be like, gosh, I only got one sale this week. And when your focus is there, when you tune into lack, you're going to observe more lack. And it's important to focus on what it is that you can control. Because at the end of the call, you cannot control whether that person whips out their credit card or not. You cannot control that. But what you can control is that you are calling this many people every single week and that you are following up on this. Focus on what it is that you can control. Focus on your input, not your output. If you are striving to build something on social media, focus on your input around whether your social media is doing great, whether it's not doing great. Being consistent and showing up and allowing your focus to go towards that. If you are in marketing, like allowing yourself to continue to show up, knowing it could be the perfect post, the perfect campaign. And sometimes there's just this weird otherworldly Pisces element to it that makes it not succeed or makes it succeed beyond your wildest dreams. Like sometimes there is just alignment or a lack thereof. And I would encourage you not to beat yourself up around that. And you will beat yourself up if you focus on your outputs around all of my social media posts aren't doing that great, or I've been putting out so many applications and nobody will call me. For your own peace of mind, focus on your inputs. Also, you've been in an era of prioritizing your mental health. So some of you could have found, because again, I'm talking to a lot of ambitious Capricorns in whatever the aim is. We tend to associate Capricorn with like CEO, boss energy, and perhaps many of you are that, but it's also a desire to do the best that we can around being a mother, the best that we can around being a painter. There's just a desire to make the most use of our talents and resources in order to do the best and be the best that we can, which can be a pressure that can be consuming. And I feel like some of you might have gone through a period of burnout around recognizing all of the aspects of your own well-being that you snoozed, whether it was your mental health, your emotional health, putting the success of your business first, or making sure everybody else in your family was good and stuffing your own needs behind. And you may have observed like cracks in the foundation, so to speak, around recognizing, ooh, this is taking a toll on me. Yes, I'm a strong Capricorn and I can show up, but at what cost? And some of you are recognizing the cost that it's been having on your well-being, your mental health, your emotional health. And so some of you have sought support for these themes. Some of you could have gotten more into spirituality with your ascendant ruler in Pisces. Some of you could have been learning different strategies with all of this energy in the third house, learning about stress management, learning about certain topics that relieve anxiety or stress from your mind. You could have been this energy around recognizing, I put so much pressure on myself around always being the overachiever and always needing to get everything done perfectly. And I'm moving into a season of life that maybe I don't want to overachieve. Maybe all of the glittery visions that I've had my eye on, and I thought, if only I get there, then I'll be happy. As soon as I do this, like recognizing all it's left me with is a poor sleep schedule and a dysregulated nervous system. Like some of you could recognize that, yes, you might have gotten what it is that you desire, but at what cost? All this Pisces energy brings about also like our spiritual health as well, how our soul is doing. And so some of you could have really been soul searching around, this was meant to make me happy and it didn't. Or I got what I wanted, yet why do I feel empty and disillusioned here? Or maybe I did all the right steps. Why am I reaching failure? Why are things not working out? Why am I not receiving the outputs that I desire? You need to focus on your inputs this year, because that shows up even beyond, the third house themes of putting the word out there in sales and marketing and learning different skills. It's all third house, but also in terms of like your mental health around, sometimes our mental health is just not in a great place and we can't always control that. But what can you control? You can control if you got outside today. You can control whether it is that you worked out today, like focusing on the inputs, the things that you're consciously doing in order to move towards that goal of emotional well-being, spiritual well-being. Like you are literally building a life that's around what makes me happy, your relational health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your psychological health, for some, perhaps for the first time. And this has been a journey that has been ongoing that you're pulling into this year. And so as you step into this year, there's this awareness, either around feeling disillusioned with your own achievements, feeling disillusioned with certain stressful situations within your life, feeling disillusioned with the world altogether, and having to focus on your inputs, what it is that you are doing each and every day to get closer to that goal that you have in mind. Which, it's not to say that you can't have all of the success and all of the abundance this year. We'll most certainly talk about it. But what would it look like to make your ultimate goal for 2026? I want to feel happy. I want to feel balanced. I want to feel regulated. And that is why you are being so firm and so strict I feel like some of you are being very strict around, I'm not just saying yes to things just to have them on the calendar. I'm not just going to take this promotion just because it'll look good on the resume. At what cost? Again, Capricorn's an earth sign. It's about the foundations. You're looking at the ROI, the return on investment. There could have been certain things where it's like, this is not giving me the return on investment. Yes, maybe I made money from it, but it's not giving me the return on the intrinsic abundance that I'm calling in, the abundance of feeling at peace every night. I mean, that is seriously priceless. And it feels like genuinely something you are prioritizing within the year ahead and having to protect your peace. You know, third house energy is also what it is that we learn and listen to. And so maybe some of you have had to be very diligent around what sort of information you are feeding your brain. Like maybe you had a certain ritual where you would get up and read the news and look at the headlines. And as of late, looking at that, you can be taking a lot of that in, and it can make you feel so powerless. Again, with all this Pisces energy, it soaks up what's around like a sponge. So when we read something, we absorb it. We think about the people impacted by that headline and we feel into it. Or someone texts us something and we feel empathy for that person. Like a lot of times we are subject to our own internal emotional equilibrium as well as our mental health being rocked, being impacted. And again, it's beautiful to be empathetic. It's beautiful to be informed. But some of you have had to have stricter boundaries around setting limits on social media, having your phone on do not disturb, being very intentional around also feeding your brain positive information or information that helps you learn and grow and expand. Because if you focus too much on what's happening around you and the suffering, it's not saying reaching a place of complacency with that, but it's recognizing this is me tuning into outputs and looking at the output around what the world is putting out. It's always going to make us feel, for lack of a better word, depressed. It's going to make us feel like, what's the point of anything? And again, I do feel like there's a spirit of acceptance and surrender that you've reached, especially as it comes to certain difficult situations that you've been navigating. But it's also important not to hone in on everything is the worst and it's all going downhill, because it's not going to help you build in a direction that gets you closer to being the most balanced, regulated, happy version of yourself. So it really is a balancing act, one that you've been dabbling with in 2025 and bringing with you into 2026. Act 2, the plot twist. What may catch you by surprise this year? This year, a lot of you may be surprised with a new job. There, I said it, or some sort of shift to how it is that you earn money, how it is that you bring in money, or what it is that you do for work. It does feel like there can be some shakeups around that. Perhaps it's related to what we've been discussing around prioritizing your mental health and your emotional health and recognizing no matter how much I'm getting paid here, it's not worth it to live in constant misery and constant anxiety. Like this is taking way too much from me. Or maybe for some of you, I've been fighting and forcing and trying to make this work, but I have to arrive to this place of surrender and shift gears as it relates to my business world. Or maybe some of you with all this fourth house energy, you are moving. Maybe some of you are purchasing a property. Maybe some of you are moving to be closer to family. That also can impact changes as it relates to what it is that you do for a living and how it is that you bring in money. And I wanted to set up this conversation truly and intentionally because this is not me saying that you need to go for whatever offer letter has the most commas in it or anything like that. Maybe that would have been you in certain seasons of life, or in always going for the position that's the most glittery, or prioritizing things that made you look a certain way or be received in a certain way, even if it was creating havoc on you internally. In terms of overall priorities in the year 2026, you're wanting to get your soul right, your mind right, your health right. Overall, I do see that as a focus. But money and work shifts may also tie into that. So if you are currently in a position where you're like, Haley Comet, this is rocking my mental health, I'm away from family, like this could be the sort of year in which you are really striving to build on the foundations of life around what's really important to me. My family is really important to me, or this is a priority of mine, and how it is that I can focus on that. For some of you, this is a strange message, but I feel like some of you could open up to some sort of side hustle or some sort of different way to bring in money or some sort of freelancing opportunity. If you've been trying to like launch a startup or you've been trying to like bootstrap something, there might be a moment of acceptance this year, not defeat, acceptance around recognizing this is taking a lot from me and just to maintain myself. So I'm not putting so much pressure on this to pay my bills. I'm open to other possibilities and potentials. I mean, if you work for yourself, talk about something that could be hard on the boundaries, on the mental, all of the things. And there might be an energy around maybe being open to something that is money just for the sake of bringing in money. Because I want to be so clear, Capricorn energy is going to be tuned into the bottom line. We do need to make money in order to survive within this world. But I see some of you, if something has been very like draining or exhausting and it has not been financially viable, maybe there's some sort of position that you step into where it actually helps with boundaries because it's like, I don't own this. This is not tied to my own efforts. I just go, I clock in, I clock out. It works around my schedule potentially. And that helps me in moving towards that goal of emotional health, mental health, something like that. Some of you, even if you don't work for yourself, can shift from a position that maybe took a harder toll on your mental and shift to something where it's like, I clock in, I clock out, and it helps me tune into what is sacred and what's deeply important to me within my life. Where am I getting this? So firstly, in August, the North Node will shift into Aquarius and the South Node will move into Leo. So the North Node will be transiting your second house of finances, of values, of self-worth, and your South Node will be transiting the territory of merged resources, which does have nuance even outside of the financial conversation. But first tuning into the financial conversation. When you have eclipses in the money houses, because that's second house and eighth house, these are the money houses, and eclipses tend to bring change. So there may be certain shifts to how it is that you make money, how it is that you split money, how it is that you share money with this new nodal story. Now, I want to highlight the North Node moves into Aquarius, South Node moves into Leo in August. However, we have the opening eclipse of this axis in February. The solar eclipse in Aquarius, February 17th, will land within your second house. February is a huge month for the collective and for you being Saturn ruled. Make sure to check that out at Magic 2026 guide below. But starting with this eclipse, it's in the second house and North Node is around gain. It's around growth. And so with the energy of the solar eclipse, there can be a new opportunity, new possibilities as it relates to finances. The thing is, though, when it comes to eclipses, it tends to bring change in very shocking, unexpected ways. And sometimes the new beginning that we are calling in is also an ending. And so if something does rock your world in February around your industry is changing quite a bit, or you've been made redundant at your role, it's important to trust. Let the nodes cook for some time, because regardless of how it may look, it is a new beginning and it is setting you up. And with the North Node in Aquarius, like some of you could really want to earn income in a way that helps humanity. Like that can be something that's a value of yours and wanting to move in that direction. This is also where Pluto is, which also indicates that there can be some transformation as it relates to your values altogether, as it relates to your money or how it is that you bring in money. And Pluto is a wrecking ball energy. And a lot of you, because there's so much shifting within you, like we talked about your foundations, what's to the core of you, what's at the root of you, what's at the base of you, a lot of people may feel like they don't recognize you. You're not the same as you used to be. And it's like you've been soul searching. You've been really wanting to build a life that's very truly and genuinely your own. You may not recognize who you were even just a few years ago. You're different. And that's the point of life, is to change and to evolve and to transform. And so even your attitudes around finances could have changed quite a bit since Pluto entered Aquarius in your second house since 2023. Maybe you worked in a certain industry that was very financially viable and then something happened that suddenly it's just so much different now. Or maybe your own mentality on money around it was around hustling and getting the next thing and the next thing. And with Pluto moving in there, you're looking at worldwide greed and you're like, I don't want to contribute to that. Like, I don't want to be so concerned on consumption to the detriment of this planet or of this world altogether. There could have been certain shifts, some more comfortable than others. But I will say, with the energy of North Node here, be open to new opportunities to make money and believe in your ability to reinvent, to begin again. If you went through something that was financially destructive, where again, you did all the right things, but it just so happened this lawsuit or this divorce or something like that hit you by surprise, which by the way, I'm not fear mongering at all. That's not what I'm saying is going to happen. I'm just was saying, some of you may have had to have this energy around acceptance, around I did all the right things, and then this one thing came and now I'm starting from scratch, or I'm having to like rebuild, or I'm having to shift gears as it relates to this industry that I've worked in for time. The reminder is that you can always begin again. And even if you built up a certain company and then something happens and now all of your hard work has resulted in no output, it's important to remember that Pluto speaks to being able to begin again. It speaks to being able to regenerate and being able to reinvent. And so as you move into this year, be open to new opportunities to make money or bring in money to you. Perhaps ones that are very connected to your values or very connected to how it is that you want to help humanity, perhaps connected to how it is that you want to change things, transform things, or perhaps tied to your new relationship to money. Maybe some of you within your work, within your business, you're really wanting to ensure that things are ethical. You're really wanting to make a difference. You're wanting to rise to your power. That also could be alive here. I also want to highlight that we have an eclipse in August as well that brings about this axis. The solar eclipse in Leo in August will land in your 8th house. Like I said, 8th house, amongst other things, it is a money house. We don't talk about that dimension of 8th house enough. It's around support that we receive from others. It's around alimony, child support, our spouse's income. And South Node tends to be an arena of release. What's interesting about this year is Jupiter will also transit the 8th house. So there's definitely some 8th house activity for you this year. So there can be something around growth or freedom that comes from letting go. Maybe some of you have gone through a divorce or something like that, where that stream of support is no longer available to you. So now you're bringing in money in a different way. Or maybe you have had investors or your parents who were supporting you or something like that, and that is shifting. And again, when that dynamic shifts, a lot can be lifted. If you feel like you have been walking on eggshells around your spouse, wanting to keep your spouse happy because they support you, or wanting to make sure your parents are proud of you because they support you, there is a freedom that comes from no longer being tied financially. Or if you had a certain business partner and you always had to run everything by them, or you had certain investors trying to tell you what to do with your company, there might be an energy where you recognize like the cost that this is much too much. Like I feel indebted to this. Some of you could be releasing some sort of debt. Some of you could be declaring bankruptcy, which allows for this energy of freedom. 8th house goes so far beyond just financial implications, but I did want to highlight that I do see some sort of shift around finances and also shift around work is why I mentioned that. And I say that because after 8 or so years of dabbling in your fellow Earth sign Taurus, Uranus will enter Gemini for good. And by for good, I mean until 2033 on April 25th. Which corresponds to your 6th house. Now, you got a taste of this in 2025. Think July 7th, November 7th. Did anything transpire around your work, around your daily routine, around your health? Think back to that. There could have been some foreshadows there, but know that Uranus is around shaking things up. So for some of you, there could be some sort of shift as it relates to your work environment. Even if it's not literally a new job, there could be a new software that you're having to learn, or you could have worked at home and now you have to work in the office, or you can work at a different location. Like it could bring in changes as it relates to your environment. It could bring in changes as it relates to your team. And with Uranus in your 6th, Pluto in your 2nd, it's important to work with where change is happening. Again, you don't need to like it, but there's a need to not cling to the old way of doing things, whether it's the old way of making money, the old way of doing your job. Be open to different ways in order to achieve your aims. And know that sometimes when new technologies are introduced or new changes are introduced, they're a bit clunky. You could be like, oh, can we go back to how things were done prior? But allow things to straighten out, because this year, especially with Uranus trining Pluto, there can be powerful changes should you be open and willing for them. So it's important to be open to that. So with that combination, a plot twist for some of you may be some sort of shift around work and career. There can be something that comes up with health that makes it so clear that you need to make money in a different way or start prioritizing your mental health or something like this. Like maybe even living a life of high stress, but having a certain health scare make you recognize the amount that it's taken from you. Some of you can experiment with a new diet, a new workout routine, new rituals, something like this. And my encouragement would prioritize the rituals that are in alignment with that aim of emotional well-being, spiritual well-being. I also want to say, Capricorn, a plot twist of this year is that healing does happen. Uranus was not the only planet or comet in this instance that started a story back in 2018. Chiron first entered Aries in 2018 as well, which is significant because when planets are transiting Aries, which, P.S. there's a lot this year, as we established, this indicates they're transiting your fourth house in solar houses or actual houses, which is an angular house. Angular houses are big deals. And Chiron is a comet that's around wounding. And when you have Chiron in an angular house, it's a bit like an exposed nerve. And there can be a lot of pain associated with that arena. And when Chiron dips into Taurus midway this year, from June 19th to September 17th, it enters your fellow Earth sign Taurus. In fact, if you have any Capricorn placements at 0 degrees Taurus, Chiron will trine your placements, which is a lot more easeful than Chiron squaring your Capricorn placements, which was the case at some point from now back to 2018. Chiron energy hurts, especially by square, especially when it's an angular house. And so there could have been certain arenas of life where it just was painful. It's like, I feel like I've done so much for my family and they still treat me like I'm nothing, or I've tried so hard to fix this particular aspect of my emotional well-being and I'm still stuck. I'm still traumatized. Like Chiron energy stings and it worms its way very deeply into our soul. It's not to say that it's been constant pain and suffering since 2018, but there likely could have been certain experiences that were a bit of a wince. This is in the foundation of your chart. So feeling the pain as it relates to your ancestry, feeling the pain as it relates to your family, feeling the pain as it relates to your living situation, or all in all, your emotions, just like a wince, ouch sensation. And there may be elements of that this year. I want to highlight if you have Capricorn placements from 22 to 29 degrees Capricorn, you will have a Chiron square this year, which can be an ouch. It's not necessarily something painful or traumatizing occurring, but it's something that brings about a trigger. And when it comes to fourth house, something that is built and layered around generational trauma or ancestral wounds that you carry with you, as well as any sort of ouch around your family, around where you come from. Like there could have been certain experiences that brought that to the surface and brought a little bit of a wince energy. And with Chiron energy, it's always there, that like kind of dull ache. And then there's experiences that just make it like send shooting pain into our emotions, into our life. But the plot twist, Capricorn, is that when Chiron moves into Taurus, it moves out of your fourth house. So I do feel like there is a reminder that we do heal. We do get better. If you have been really doing the work in therapy, or you've been doing EMDR, you've been really working to rebuild trust within your family unit or something like this, or you've been really wanting to understand your family and your ancestry and what it is that is indebted or inherited from them, there could be moments this year, particularly when Chiron leaves the fourth house, where you're like, whoa, we do heal, we do get better. It's so strange. You know, if you watch my weekly horoscope series, Magic Monday, you know that I really went through it in 2024, and not one person on this planet is exempt from suffering during their time here. But I just remember when I was in it, I just felt like I would always be in that place, like always just be traumatized, always just feel like I was living in darkness, just going through the motions. Like you just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You just don't know that it's going to get better. And then one day you just are. It's so weird. It's like all of a sudden the sunlight is pouring through your window and you feel excited again and you like recognize parts of yourself that you haven't seen in a while. And you're like, whoa, I'm like laughing really heartily with my friends. Like, when did this version of me come back? Like, it's strange. You can put in so much to it and feel frustrated because like the output of perfect mental health or finally feeling like the pain has subsided can feel denied to us. And then one day it's just there. It's so strange. And that's a plot twist for you, I want to say, Capricorn. If you feel like you've been dealing with something really painful that has really hurt you, please know healing does happen. And like I said, focus on your inputs. That's one foot in front of the other. Because heartache, grief, loss, it's so strange. It just lifts. And it's not to say that it completely evaporates from our world. It's still part of our story. It's still maybe beneath the surface, but it will not always feel like it does today or how it has felt. So some of you could have some sort of breakthrough with a family member where there's been this really painful situation and you start to see some positive momentum in a certain direction. Some of you can find that something that has really hurt you emotionally, suddenly you're feeling more optimistic about. Some of you could start to see the positive ramifications of all the work that you've been doing around your well-being. Some of you, if there's been a really painful, tumultuous situation with a home, some of you could feel like that pressure is lifted. I mean, the South Node, Jupiter conjunction in your 8th house could also point to that. If you've dealt with a home or a property that's just been like a money pit, there could be an energy around feeling the freedom that comes from release and feeling the energy around, wow, I feel like I can breathe again. I just want to say that a plot twist for you, Capricorn, is that we do heal, we do get better. Part 3, character development. Let's talk about you and your growth as you navigate the year. On February 13th, Saturn wraps up its tour in Pisces in your 3rd house and settles into Aries, which is a story that has been foreshadowed before. So think late May to early September of last year. That's when Saturn stepped into Aries, and some themes from that time can come to the surface. And with your ruling planet entering Aries, I do want to highlight that it is a bit uncomfortable here. You may find yourself prioritizing matters that you had not before. You may find yourself showing up in ways that feel unfamiliar. You may be surprising the people around you because you are just different. And it's funny because Capricorn is an energy that's typically associated with what's public, what's out in the world. So even with your ruler, which represents you, the main character of your movie, in the 4th house around what's private, there's also a discomfort there. So there may be parts of Saturn in Aries, to be forthright, that are not the most comfortable. But it can be a really supportive time of growth as well as getting your foundations in order. It does not matter how fast you get to the top of the ladder if it is placed to the wrong wall. And sometimes we get in certain seasons of our life where we are more so running away from something rather than running towards something. Like we can think, I'm running towards this goal, I'm running towards this aim, I'm running towards this. But actually the whole time we were just striving to run away from our feelings of not being good enough or our fears of sitting with ourselves. There could be certain themes this year where you do depart from your comfort zone. And with Saturn in Aries, you can be a bit more assertive and proactive. You can be more protective around your emotional space. Like I said, you are a fierce protector of your peace this year. Some of you could finally set boundaries with a very challenging family situation that has been transpiring, perhaps even painful situation. As I highlighted, Chiron will be in your 4th house for most of the year. That story does wrap up next year. So you're almost done. You get a taste of it this year, of Chiron no longer being an angular house, but Saturn is a planet that makes us do the thing. And so some of you, it might have been the situation where you felt taken advantage of, and this is a year in which you're having to stand your power around, no, this is not okay with me. You're having to enact boundaries as it relates to something around family, something around home. And there might be uncomfortable facets of that. If there's been certain individuals who were slacking off because they trusted that you would pick up the slack, you may be saying, no, that's not okay with me. This isn't making me happy. You may be standing up for yourself in novel ways this year. And I don't say that to diminish you. You are a very strong, powerful person. But you may have just found in other seasons of your life, your own emotional well-being was simply not a factor that felt pressing enough in order to enforce or stand up for. Like when it came to other people, when it came to your business, like absolutely stepping into that energy. But when it came to, I felt disrespected, I felt hurt, I felt abandoned, I felt neglected, I felt taken advantage of, that might feel more uncomfortable because it's more personal, it's more private, it's more directly connected to you. And that may be something that you are prioritizing this year. Like I said, it's at the base of your chart. So you're not just chasing career aims just because it's the glittery thing or because it's going to make you look like this in the outer world. It's really bringing the focus around what makes me happy. And sometimes when we start prioritizing ourselves, we start sticking up for ourselves, sometimes we do move into a period of solitude. Or our relationships, our connections do shift from that place. We're allowing our emotions to take up space in ways that they did not before. I have to be forthright that sometimes Saturn in the 4th house can be a little bit of a lonely transit. And keep in mind, you've already experienced shades of this and you will get through this. I mean, Capricorns are very independent. You're very self-sufficient, but there might be a bittersweet acknowledgement this year where you recognize like, I should not have had to be as strong as how I've been, or I should not have to meet every single one of my own emotional needs. Like I have needs and I need to stick up for myself, be this assertive Aries energy around getting them met. And maybe that's around drawing certain lines in the sand around this is what I need. Are you capable enough to give this to me? And maybe I've diminished, maybe I've played down, maybe I've just kept doing all of the things leading to burnout. But this is a year in which you're really prioritizing what other people do not see, but is very alive within you. And it's knowing you are worthy of taking up space. You are worthy of prioritizing for your emotions and recognizing where there's a deficit around you're not showing up in the ways that I need you to, and like enforcing that. And they're not able to give that to you. Loving yourself enough to walk away, being fiercely defensive enough of your joy and your well-being to walk away from anything, jobs, relationships that it is not giving to you in the way that you need. And sometimes there's an energy around, our partner can't fulfill all our emotional needs. Sometimes it's like, you're here for me in this way and my friends are here for me in this way. It's not saying we have to put the entire onus on someone, but I just feel there's like a theme of like abandon and neglect that could have been transpiring here, where whether it's with a family member or something around the home, it's like, you just expect me to hold it all together. You just expect me to be a robot and not have any emotions. Well, I have emotions and they're big and I need your support. And I'm allowed to stick up for myself around needing your support. And you, Capricorn, are always buddy-buddy with Saturn, but you will be the most buddy-buddy with Saturn if you have Capricorn placements between 0 to 14 degrees Capricorn. That means you will experience a square from Saturn this year. So it's less like buddy-buddy and more like enemy-enemy, not to be dramatic. Don't worry, Saturn has a bright side. If you work with Saturn, it can be incredibly supportive. You're getting your foundations in order. Saturn plays an important role within the cosmos, but it can be a little bit more hard and challenging. It can really draw our awareness to any sort of foundational issues of our homes, of our emotions, of our family, if you are having a Saturn square. In February, your ascendant ruler will align with Neptune. And Neptune is a very spiritual planet, but it's very leaky. It's energetically leaky. It's emotionally leaky. Like I said, some of you are just going to feel like way more emotional this year and be like, who is this person? There can also be an acknowledgement around escapism. Now, this could be in relation to you around your emotions. Like when Saturn transits the 4th house, our typical coping strategies don't work anymore. So if we've tried to work it away, if we tried to smoke it away, it doesn't work anymore. And with Saturn on Neptune, there could be a strong desire to want to do just that, escape from the uncomfortable emotions. But there's a nudge this year to prioritize the foundations of you. Again, we can just be on the 3rd story floor doing all these coping mechanisms, trying to ignore what's happening in the foundations. This is a year where life is going to reveal the underlying foundations of it. And it's not to say that it's cracked. It's not to say that it's flawed, but just the underlying dynamics that may be impacting your life altogether. And so Saturn, Neptune at the beginning of the year could be you recognizing this is not good for me. The sleeping pills are not good for me. The drinking is not good for me. The doing this for adrenaline rush in order to ignore the feeling of it, like it's not working any longer. And when that presents itself, we have two options. We could either do more and hope the next level will finally get what we want, finally get that output that we're after, or we could decide it's time for me to find more constructive ways of taking care of myself. Again, Saturn energy makes us put in the work, but I'm telling you, at the end of this transit, it's like you are so solid within yourself. And so it's being willing to do the work around what genuinely supports me. What do I genuinely need, like emotionally and to a soul level? Some of you could be dealing with substance issues more so in relation to a family member, in relation to a parent, a caregiver, something like that. And talk about a situation that can just make you feel so powerless, right? To see someone that you love indulge in a vice that is destroying them. And like I said, I do see something, this is not a story for everyone, where there's this energy of acceptance, where we can try to control and try to make them go to rehab, make them get help, but ultimately it has to be a decision that they themselves make. And it's not saying give up on them, but recognize only they can do this for them. And that's really a collective message this year with Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron in Aries, is that we all have to take responsibility and accountability for our own lives. And it could be so heart-wrenching when it's someone that you care about and you just want to swoop in and fix all of the things. But it's recognizing like this is a decision that only they can make. And when it comes to your happiness in your life, like there might be certain decisions that only you can make. And fourth house has to do with our home. So like I said, some of you could liquidate a property of yours. It might be a family's property, something that you inherited or received, and there could be an energy where you're having to sell it. And maybe there's a sentimental quality as it relates to the property. Even if you're moving and you don't own the place, there's still a sentimental energy around recognizing this is a place where it saw me through this season of my life. Like there might be an energy around to love means to let go as it relates to a home, as it relates to a property. Some of you could have arisen to a new level of responsibility around home ownership. You're now responsible for a property, you're responsible for land. And with great responsibility comes a great duty around maintaining any sort of property. I have to be forthright with Saturn in the fourth house. A lot of your effort and energy this year could go towards repairs and dialing into the literal foundations or like working on the home. I've mentioned this before when talking about the transit, so sorry to be redundant, but I'm just thinking back to when I had Saturn in the fourth house, and it was a time that I got so acclimated with this place because it literally felt like something was breaking every other week. And it was annoying. Like Saturn energy could be so frustrating. It could be time consuming, but it's like when Saturn left, not only had I built this really strong toolbox of ways to cope and to regulate my own emotions, to really give myself what I needed, but I also had this Rolodex of all of these specialists who could help me with my home. I left with all of this information around how to maintain this home. And I'm telling you, it really helped me build my life on a solid foundation. Because now if something goes down here, like I know exactly what to do. I know who to call. So it's not to say that it's not stressful and it's not annoying. Some of you could have taken a responsibility around a family member, and there can just be all of this legislation, all of these legalities to it, but it can be very beautiful to take care of what is sacred to you. You know, maybe for some of you, not all, I'm not inspiring any fear, but maybe for some of you, that's why there's these shifts of priorities, is it's like, you know, I only get this amount of time with this person. Like I want to step up as their caretaker. I want to spend time with them. This is what really means something to me. With your ruler aligning with Neptune, this is important to my soul. This is helpful in better understanding my ancestry, my history, my family's history, something like this. Fourth house can also bring about those themes as well. And so Neptune will also be in the fourth house, which can create a fogginess as it relates to bounds within our family members, which is why you're encouraged to set those boundaries. With your ruler there, it can lead to escapism around our emotions or in relation to our family. It can also be a very spiritual influence. So some of you can get more into spirituality. It could be something that you've been studying about with Neptune having been in your third house, your ruling planet having been in your third house and sign Pisces. And it might be something that you are implementing in regards to your private reality. And you will have a Neptune square this year if you notice that your Capricorn placements are placed between 0 to 4 degrees Capricorn. That indicates Neptune and Aries will square you, which makes it even more important to have grounding rituals, to have really fierce boundaries, as well as to be very mindful around how things affect you and impact you, and continue to put your own well-being, your own mental health first. Because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And Neptune energy can be very spiritual, but it can also be very disillusioning. We could have felt like we were sold a dream. Something felt like it was going to be this. And there is an ask around acceptance, surrender, as well as knowing whatever it is that we're moving through, this too shall pass. So where it is that we can ground ourselves in the interim, where it is that we can focus on our inputs. Act 4, supporting characters, what the other planets that we have not discussed yet are up to. The first is very significant to your year, and I don't mean to downplay that. Jupiter will be in Cancer, thus your 7th house, from the beginning of the year until June 29th. And wherever Jupiter is transiting is a space of growth and bounty. Essentially, it could be an arena of jubilance, of expansion. And this is moving through the territory that has to do with other people. And so some of you last year, continue on into this year, could be in a space where you are open to connection, companionship, relationship. And again, with Saturn and Aries, it could make you be, yes, very radically self-reliant around identifying your needs. But like I said earlier, open to other people filling those needs. Maybe you're sick of doing it all on your own. Just because you can do it all on your own doesn't mean that you need to. And with Jupiter in the 7th house, you could be open to calling someone in who actually helps you, who actually supports you, who's actually emotionally available for you. And to call in those sort of people, we first have to be emotionally available ourselves. Like I said, all of this 4th house energy tends to bring about the foundations of who am I and why am I this way? And sometimes with that 4th house energy, it's like, of course, we seek out individuals who struggle with substances. That's been alive within our family line. Or, of course, we seek out individuals who are avoidant. We also ourselves are avoidant, and we feel more comfortable with someone at arm's length. This year does require you to be very honest and authentic with yourself and your needs, but you're open to other people coming in and supporting you with that. You're moving into an era of your life where you are softening, as I highlighted, and you're more vulnerable. You're allowing other people in, which can be quite scary, and it could be easy to pretend like we don't have emotions, we don't have needs, but you're in a space where you may feel like you're ready for that. Some of you, to be forthright, can be in a space where you recognize that's not being fulfilled by your current partnership, by your current relationship. South Node in the 8th house and eclipses landing in the 8th house can sometimes be the dissolution of our joint finances, whether that's within a business partnership or a marriage. So I do need to be forthright that some of you could be prioritizing your happiness in such a way that you recognize this person is not giving you what you need. And some of you could crave freedom in a way around this is not worth the toll that it takes on my mental health and my emotional health. Maybe I will have some sort of financial payout, but it'll be worth it for me to be able to move forward. Others of you are moving into a space where you are open to connection, open to partnering with others in order to lighten your load in whichever way that that shows up. And outside of relationship connections, business partnerships, 7th house is also the general public as well. So you can be seen as someone who is more favorable at this time. People could really like you at this time. You might be prioritizing connections. Again, if you've been in seasons of your life where it was all around getting to the chosen aim here, you might be in a season of your life in which you are wanting to be around people, wanting to prioritize relationships, nurture connection, whether that's by way of our community, our friendships, whatever it is. It's something we have to actively pour into. And that may be something that you are putting a lot of input into, nurturing and nourishing your relationships and connections and trusting the timing of who comes into your life. Jupiter on June 29th shifts into Leo, your 8th house. So like I said, there's interesting energy around release and gain showing up with Jupiter in South Node this year, where yes, there could be elements where we are releasing support that we've had from others. We could be releasing some sort of debt of some sort, but it's allowing for this energy of being able to move forward and grow. So some of you could pay down debt, you could declare bankruptcy, you could have some sort of partnership dissolution where maybe you profit from it, maybe you don't, but either way, you get your peace of mind around being able to move forward. That does feel like something that's alive here. Outside of that, as I noted, 8th house goes beyond just shared resources and money that comes to us from others and debt and taxes. 8th house is also matters of the occult. South Node is a very spiritual placement. So with South Node Jupiter in the 8th house, you could really feel ancestral support this year. I feel for some, you're getting more into your ancestry with all this 4th house energy. Where did I come from? Why am I this way? And you can really feel support from the other side, cheering you on, even with this Leo energy. I just want to tell a quick anecdote. My grandma has been like heavy on my mind this week as I just sold my vehicle that belonged to hers. And the day that I had posted about that, I happened to be like deep cleaning my home and I found this charm of hers. I'll insert it here that I forgot that I even owned. I found it so randomly that has her home state on it, Iowa. It was like a little wink that she's around. Even though I don't have the vehicle, her energy is still around. And that's 8th house energy, where North Node is around gain and growth. And yes, there can be a focus around money, making money, but in ways that support your mental and emotional health and the health of your home and your family altogether. But 8th house is around, we can't take it with us. We can't take the possessions with us. We can't take the stuff with us. We can't take the home with us. It's around the soul, as well as like the occult knowledge. So some of you, just with Jupiter entering the 8th house, you could be diving into certain topics. There could be random support that finds you at unexpected times where maybe something shakes up around work, but a new opportunity drops into your lap in the perfect timing. Like there can be unusual ways that money and support finds its way to you. But an important emphasis this year is you have to be open to receive it, Capricorn. And so Capricorn, this is a really pivotal year for you. You're going to look back at this year and recognize it as a time of a lot of growth. And that may not be growth that everybody sees from you in the outside world. People could misunderstand you, especially if you're having a Neptune square. They could feel like you're being mean. They could feel like you're being a little harsh. If you're having a Saturn square and you're having to enforce boundaries, you're doing a lot of work and this will impact your outer world. It's just a time of your life in which you are really soul searching and you're really wanting to build things that are solid, built upon the foundation of your happiness, of your well-being, built upon the foundation of who it is that you truly are and who it is that you want to be, built upon the foundation of not, I'll be happy when, but I am happy as I am building. Because especially with North Node moving into your 2nd house, this can be a very ravenous energy. I do feel like a lot of you could make lots of money this year, but with North Node in the 2nd house of money, there's also a focus on the cost. So recognizing that there's a cost to anything and everything. And if it impacts your happiness, your joy, your mental health, it's a cost too high. It's a year that you're really building upon the solid foundation of what it is that you stand for, of where your values are. And you could be surprised, honestly, with the ways that the universe comes in to support you, the way other people come in to support you in the spirit of acceptance and surrender and just saying it is what it is. You may be surprised the blessings that come in with Jupiter in the 8th house, the random money that just shows up, the inheritances that show up, the support network that just shows up. Because we started this video talking about, sometimes there's just this like supernatural, otherworldly element to anything where we could do all the right things and it still doesn't work out. And sometimes there's just this supernatural, otherworldly element where things just align. They just take shape and form. What does it look like to remain in that state of surrender and serenity as you witness it all? There's quite a few like mystical transits for you, Capricorn. So you might be stepping more into this energy, really prioritizing your own emotions, really listening to your own intuition, listening to your own gut instincts, and finding the more you could tune into that voice, the more you are exactly where you are meant to be. You are making money in an industry right before it pops off, or you shift something within your workflow that leads to a lot of gain and growth within your business. It's just important to listen to your inner voice, your inner guidance, trust the yeses, trust the nos, and no matter how glittery, how sparkly, how good it would look on the resume, protect your peace fiercely around if it affects your mental health, it's a price too much. And if it feels off, it probably is. So Capricorn, if you're looking for more information on 2026 and how to find the magic in each and every month, make sure to check out the guide below or sign up for one of my Magic 2026 classes that we're having in January. There's a few dates and times available where you can get your chart and transits read within a small, intimate group environment. And we all set our intentions for what we are calling in within the year ahead. If you are new to my channel, I would so deeply appreciate if you could like, comment, share to another Capricorn that you know, subscribe if you like the vibes. I do all sorts of all signs forecasts here on the channel, as well as a weekly horoscope series called Magic Monday. I would so love to have you a part of it. But until we meet again, Capricorn, stay magical.